I risked my brain rotting on TikTok for an entire month to try to figure out what makes an indie game do well on TikTok, go viral, and bring in wish lists for Steam. I watched and kept track of over 100 TikTok videos of indie games and put it into a Google Sheet and got data for about 50 plus of those so I could conclude what strategies work and see if there are any interesting trends. Perhaps you're an indie game building your game and about ready to market it. Now, Chris Zuzowski has already written about this on howtomarketagame.com, and honestly, his blogs are great. And a lot of the stuff I'm going to share is just kind of validating what he's already written there. But I wanted to discover things for myself and see if there are other takeaways that I could implement when making TikToks for indie games. So let's jump into the Google Slides. Yes, I know I'm a nerd. I also have Google Sheets and some pivot tables. And also, just one heads up, take every data point with a grain of salt. The best I could do and come up with, because I'm not contacting these games directly, was look at the trend of their followers on Steam and see how their TikTok video maybe impacted that, and do my best guesswork tracking the followers for the next couple weeks to a month or so, depending on how the video was seemingly to do. But this is in no way real data. It's just estimating to the best I can using SteamDB. So indie games going viral. First, we're going to talk about what types of game go viral the most often, the types of videos that seem to be doing well for most games, and then we'll get into some of the nitty gritty fun stats to see if that helps you guys as well. Oh, also one more thing to note before we're starting this, I just kind of put a standard on viral of going above 100,000 views. Some people say, viral is a lot higher than that, but I was just like, we got to set the bar at something. And so if the video was over 100,000 views, I put that into the list. If it fell below that, sorry. So here are the types of games that do real good on TikTok. As Chris says, usually, he calls them beautiful, magical games. They just somehow blow up on TikTok, and you never know if your game is going to be falling into that category until you try it. However, I will say I came across a number of videos in these 6 categories that seem to pop up more than others. First of all, cozy fishing farming. Think of things like Animal Crossing, that kind of art style and vibe or game. Those seem to do well. Social co-op, of course, anything that is funny. This is Repo. Things like Content Warning, those types of games, especially that have a little bit more of a horror or surprise tweak. But anything that really you can play with friends and are going to make streamers have an extremely funny clips, those are going to tend to do quite well. Then you have the design and building games. Tiny Glade is always one of those big examples. Anything that has a cozy vibe and a unique art style that allows you to build things tends to do well. As I already hinted at, to no surprise, horror does pretty well on TikTok. Survival games do pretty well. And then the last one, simulation games. And I know you can't see it. Let me turn off my face cam for a second. Things specifically around cars and trucks. I don't know why this specifically seems to be doing well on TikTok, but I didn't see as many other simulation games like Power Wash Simulator or Running a Store Simulator. I'm sure that those are out there, especially like Power Wash Simulator is huge, but I'm talking about specifically videos that were made by the creator of the game itself. However, if your game is not in that 6 genres, just know that if you have something unique, that I saw many different types of genres work on TikTok, whether that was a platformer or Metroidvania, where people would say those usually don't work on TikTok, roguelites, exploration, mysteries, hack and slash, pretty much almost every genre that you can think of, except for on this other side of the list. So games that I didn't see, of course, we're talking about 100 plus TikTok. So this is not the end all be all. Maybe these are appearing somewhere, but in general, I didn't see more of the strategy-based games like tower defense, RTS, turn-based games, and puzzle games. Another one that I didn't really see is narrative and visual novel, and I'm assuming that's mostly because it's hard to communicate. If your game is really around the narrative, around the story, and you only have, 2 seconds to engage someone's attention span, not even that, on TikTok, it's going to be hard to communicate and draw them into a story. Maybe if you have longer videos and people are willing to watch for a minute or 2 minutes because the story is that engaging and that good, maybe there's some way to do that. Or maybe your art style is so unique that it stops people on the track and they want to watch the rest of your video. But as far as I'm aware, I didn't see any as I was going through indie games on TikTok. The other ones is I didn't see MMO, MOBAs, some of those games that are generally made by bigger teams. I know there are some indie ones out there, but generally you're not going to see them using hashtag indie games, which is what I was doing to search for these games, as well as mostly just through my For You page. After I did this enough, there was enough indie games popping up into my feed over and over again. But specifically in indie, MOBA, MMO, those types of huge games that require a lot of resources, did not see. But again, I think it's not even genre. The biggest thing is this up here. If you have something unique, whether it's an interesting design, like in the UI, UX, or the game design itself, maybe you have an interesting spell or action, or if the game is just honestly good looking and distinct from other games, it has to be unique, and that's way more important of what I saw than what the genre is. So if you're not that, if you're not unique in your art style, if you're not unique in the gameplay itself, you should know funny other types of videos can go viral. There were a few examples I saw, although not many. But one thing to note is that they converted less followers and wish lists to Steam. Also, they rarely went viral again. So this is a game, an indie game. I'll show you this example. Pretty funny. Our indie game is the world's first 100% science-based goblin simulation. And of course, this is a brilliant caption. This is hilarious. You know, this is something that I would share with my friends. All the comments are like, you know, you can tell this game has 100% science-based goblin physics because of the way it is. I was just saying yesterday how games nowadays don't have convincing goblin physics. Finally, dude. Finally. Right? So this is the type of video that is funny, but the problem with that is, yes, it's funny, and it's the type of video that I would send to my siblings, send to my friends, and be like, haha, this is such a hilarious TikTok. But it does nothing to draw me in to actually want to go learn about what the game is and to actually wish list it on Steam. So for that video itself, it got 1.3 million views at the time I was entering this data, and on SteamDB, I estimated about 18 followers gained, which is, again, another estimation of wish list, maybe somewhere around 100 to 150. So in my estimations, that was about, you know, a fourth to a third effective about getting people to actually go wish list your game on Steam. So it's not nothing, you know, it was some kind of bump, it was some kind of help to their game, and if this is all you have, then that's great. But if you're not going viral because of the gameplay itself in some sort of way, then, you know, just realize you're probably going to get less wish lists from that. Alright, so let's talk about viral video templates. This is what I was talking about sometimes when I've been helping market a game, and just like, I don't know what to do. This is kind of what stumbled me down this whole road, is like, okay, let's just look at a bunch of these videos, see what's working, and typically what happens is, you know, trends evolve around these indie games, and you'll see a lot of the same style of video go across and work for other games as well. Now, if your game doesn't have the beauty, the magic, whatever you want to call it, the uniqueness, then you probably won't go viral with these, but it's at least worth attempting and trying to see how your game and how people respond to it on TikTok. So the first one, simple, just pure gameplay. That's all you gotta do. A huge one is 15 seconds of our indie game. And that's all you do. That's the caption. You show the gameplay however you want to show, maybe the best parts. And of course, this seems to work for the games that are the most beautiful or have some unique, impressive design. However, what I thought was interesting is most people on TikTok say, you know, keep your videos short. You don't want to bore people. You don't want people to scroll away. But there are plenty of games over here on the right side. You can see them here. We'll open up one. This was 58 seconds long, talking about how they're making a game. It's just going through with caption and voiceover what the game is. This is Minsk, and they literally put a 2-minute video here on TikTok. And let's see, just watched 259,000 views. So if you're worried about the length of your video, honestly don't. There was no big correlation. Do it all, you know, show 15 seconds, show 30 seconds, show 2 to 3 minute clips. You know, the thing about TikTok is the longer videos you have, the less I think the algorithm really requires a high retention rate. As long as people are watching for a good chunk of it, even if they don't watch the whole thing, then TikTok will continue to push it in its algorithm. So pretty simple, that's an easy one. Another one that I saw, surprisingly, that works is just featuring trailers. One that I really liked was Constance. They just put a simple question, have you ever seen the full trailer for our first game? And they just showed the trailer. You know, you can do the blurred bar background because if you only have it in 1080 horizontal, then obviously you're gonna have a lot of black room up and above. So you can do the, you know, expand it, blur it out. Same thing with Schedule 1 here. And I think Repo actually just made a vertical trailer specifically, or at least cropped in their trailer so it looked specifically for vertical. So obviously Repo and Schedule 1, their games that already blew up, so that's part of it. But Constance, you know, it's not even released yet. And on their trailer video, they got 200,000 views. Not bad. This next one is my favorite, and honestly the biggest thing I think you can do. I put it at the bottom here. Track and record your progress. Please, please, please do, because this is one of the biggest things that works on TikTok for games. And I think it's because it tells the story, it tells the narrative of your game's creation itself, and makes you want to root for them. I mean, if someone posts a video and you're scrolling and says, 5 years ago, my BF and I started making a game, that catches your attention. 5 years? I want to see, how has this thing progressed over 5 years? Or this one here, half a year developing my first game. Okay, so now I'm rooting for this guy who's building his first game ever. I want to see how it's progressing. Week 1, well, that looks way different than the intro of the game. How did he get there from week 1 to 1 month, and by the end of it, of course, his game is quite beautiful. I think some people said it was like Red Dead Redemption with raccoons, is what I think some comments said. And so, of course, again, if your game is more beautiful or eye-catching, then this is going to be more helpful. But there's even some games that I found on there that I wouldn't have surprised. That would have been surprising for me to go viral. But because they, did this other trend, how it started versus how it's going is another big one. And you can see it's pretty simple. Like, this is how we started developing our game. And at some point, it's going to go to, okay, here's where it is now. And you can see, oh, wow, this is amazing. I can see the progress of the game. It looks awesome. Wait, that's a cuteness overload we have there. Here's Demon Turf showing their prototype. I think they had some trendy music on as well.
And now, a year later, this is me still on that grind, boy. You thought this was? You thought I was going to give up? No. The day that
they put a little, I think this is a TikTok trend sound if I remember right. So I think some people have this, fear of, well, I don't want to release it. I don't want to show it off unless it's really nice and really polished. But especially for indie games, I think one of the biggest strengths that you have is showing your journey along the way, showing the behind the scenes, showing the struggle, showing when it didn't look that good, and getting people in through that hook brings them into the story of your game, makes them want to root for you, makes them want to watch, like, comment, and share your video. And I think this is one of my favorite and things that I would highly recommend you try doing. Next is showcasing a bug or fixing one. Honestly, I put at the bottom here, this could be even staged. I don't even know, there's no way to know if this is real or not. So this is Lotto Knots here, I'll show you. This is Lotto Knots, a bug in our game caused this Lotto to keep eating, and growing. Again, did they actually find this a bug, or was this, potentially scripted and then they made a funny TikTok out of it? There's no way to know, but that video right there, 2.3 million views. So if you stumble upon something that's a funny bug, record that thing. Don't have one of your devs fix it right away. Record it first for marketing. Or if you want to stage it and then record it as well, that works.
If you thought this game was ugly from my
Having
pirate
the wrong settings
I had the
on
settings on my
making it
monitor
look one way
cranked
on
up
that,
to be
and then
super
another way on
vibrant for
TikTok,
playing games.
and then
But that
you
made
just
it
realize, I'm stupid. What I was screwing this whole thing up, and so just that honesty, that behind the scenes look, is great. Next up is responding to negative comments. Again, this is another one. It could be made up. There's no way to know. Obviously, if you're responding to a direct TikTok comment, that's the best way to make it look legit. But these went viral. Just simply putting little things on here. Nobody cares about your indie game. I don't like witches. Please stop posting that. Your game is never going to blow up. This isn't even a Souls-like. And again, it's like, did someone say that on their video? Yeah, I mean, people are rude all over. It wouldn't be surprising if someone said that. But by just putting those little comments, whether they're real or not, 120,000 views on that. It's just a Fortnite and Tarkov ripoff. And that video, 800,000 views. What I think is powerful about this one specifically is that you're putting people in a position to root for you because, everyone likes an underdog. Everyone wants to root for an underdog. And everyone's saying your game sucks. And then you're showing a piece off where it's like, well, maybe it doesn't suck. Then people are going to come and rally around you. If you come to the video and look at the comments, ignore the haters. Keep up the amazing work. I mean, this is from the actual Among Us. I care about your game, but also follow out of spite for mean people. And of course, if it looks completely staged, then, some people might say, like, no one ever said that. Like, bro, who TF said that, But it doesn't matter if people buy it or not. Like, if it works, it works. Another one I saw work well is actually adding to your game through the TikTok comments. This is obviously pretty strong because one, people want to know what you added. The comments are usually pretty ridiculous. And then now everyone's starting to watch and comment on your video, giving it more and more engagement because they want to see if their comment is the one that gets picked and put into the new game. So it inspires them to follow your game as well as see, well, maybe they actually added to the game because of what I said. Okay. Honestly, like, they have so many viral videos. It's hilarious. You should go look at their TikTok. They also were the ones that made Repo that blew up this year.
A weapon in our game?
It's like, you know,
a sword holding a sword. Yeah?
This one's from Megabonk, but
that's impossible.
This guy can't skate. This is more in a content creator style where it goes through the whole process of not just responding to the comment, but how he developed it, and he kind of makes it funny with, you know, the character now skating, falling on his face, and then, you know, he finally gets to the actual final product. So obviously that's not going to work for everyone because, you know, do you actually want to open that up and open those floodgates to the comments and responding to them and actually changing your game because of them? But maybe it's something smaller. Maybe it's not that you're actually building the game around what people say in TikTok, but maybe a small little feature or an Easter egg or bonus level based on what people say in the comments. It's just a good way to engage your fans, keep the discussion going. And who knows, maybe they add a brilliant idea, a sword holding a sword. I don't know who the heck could have come up with that, but, you know, for their game, it worked. The next trend is early versus late game. So if you can show something that's, hey, this is when you start playing the game, this is what it looks like. And then, you know, a few hours later, whoa, that got much faster. The action went way crazier. And this one did it with, you know, when you first start, here's what your spell looks like in the beginning. Does a little bit of damage, creates a little tunnel. And then late game, you know, you have a big, massive fire nuke spell, I don't know, and then he says, okay, wow, that's, you know, quite a big difference. So if you can show what the beginning of your game, the late game, you know, it hooks people in with like, oh, well, what's going to change, what's going to be different. Obviously, you know, if your game looks very similar in the late game versus the early stages of the game and there's not much difference visually, then it's probably not going to work. But if you have a game that works like that, or it's kind of a mind-blowing switch of, whoa, this is the early game, this is the late game, crazy, then that's a great trend for you to try out. Now, I think this one really goes without saying, but if you can find something ridiculous about your game, add a stupid mechanic, you know, anything that is sensational, of course, is going to do well on TikTok because people want to share something that just looks absolutely ridiculous. So if your game has something like that, feature the heck out of it. Maybe, you know, if you can, and it makes sense to, add something to your game that is just ridiculous and stupid that will potentially make you go viral on TikTok. I mean, this one from Bite Barrel, all they did, you know, we have spinning road signs. Shoot the sign, and then he does a cool trick shot where he jumps onto it. Like, that didn't massively change their game. You know, I don't know if they made it specifically to go viral on TikTok, but it was a cool little clip, and, you know, there's other trick shots, you know, driving your car backward. Yeah, other trick shots like, you know, driving your car backwards. You know, there's like other trick shots here. They're driving the cop car backwards, and that went viral. You know, as long as you can land the move in a cool fashion. This game, AV Assembly, went viral a ton, literally by just posting this will never fly, and let's just create the most ridiculous looking plane that we can. And at the end of the video, we see, does it fly? And it does fly. I mean, that's literally it. But because it's so ridiculous, you know, people want to stay tuned and see, will it actually fly? This one from Forestware Games, and the caption, tutorial, how to fell a tree using your buddy. Picks up a dead body, chucks it into a tree, and the tree falls over. Right? Absolutely ridiculous, but that's what video games are made for. You got other things like shooting wars with ducks flying around, physics-based games that just look absolutely goofy in a sword fight. Some crazy truck references in this one. Hate to say it, but, you know, physics on certain body parts that shouldn't work the way they do. They don't work that way in real life. If you know what I'm saying, you know what I'm saying. Caught a lot of people's attention on TikTok. This one, a baby is You know, this one you're playing a game as a baby in an evil world, and all of a sudden, you know, it's like, oh, cute, you're a little baby in an obstacle course, and all of a sudden, wham! You know, a baby gets absolutely rocked by one of the obstacles, you know. And, you know, people want to share that kind of thing because it's so ridiculous. It's the kind of content that's going to go viral. So if you have something in your game like that, great, share it. If you don't, maybe consider adding something. You know, I don't know if it's worth it just to add it just for the TikTok if it's going to be a huge amount of work. But if it's something simple like a spinning road sign that you could do a cool trick shot off of, that's some good content, and, you know, hopefully people want to try that out when they actually play the game itself, and it's a cool little fun moment for them to do when they actually get the game. Next up is trending CapCut memes. This is the thing I was interested about, is like, can an actual content creator style that works on TikTok, does it work for indie games? And honestly, like, there wasn't many examples. Maybe there's more out there that I missed. But if you're like, do I need to be a content creator and come up with something funny, come up with something trendy, using, you know, TikTok sound that is working for everyone? And it's like, really, I found two examples. One was that used the music clip. This one was trending for a while. Had a funny caption. And it went viral. This one was a CapCut, you know, this feeling when you find out this game is like Stardew Valley and Animal Crossing, but it's free. And this got 615,000 views. But again, this is what I would say more on the rare side, and if this is not you, if you don't have a community manager or content creator, or you can't hire someone to do that, honestly, like, I just don't think it's actually that valuable to go out for this trending type of content for your indie game specifically. So hopefully that takes the weight off your shoulders a little bit, the pressure of trying to be a content creator yourself. It worked in a couple cases like this, but honestly, I would not say it's the majority at all. Next one is asking for feedback. This one pretty self-explanatory. This one especially worked for horror games. You know, just ask a simple question, show some of your content of your game, and then have people respond in the comments. Make sure, you know, you hopefully actually respond to those comments yourself. But simple as that. How does this look? I have this new feature. What do you think? I just added a new soundtrack to our game. What do you think of the music? We changed our main character from having purple hair to green hair. Which one do you like better? I mean, it's that simple. Another one is a comparison to a popular game. You know, Constance is a mix between Hollow Knight, Celeste, and Dash of Splatoon. This one was, if you're looking for a game that mixes up Lethal Company, Mud Runner, Pacific Drive, and this one got 650,000 views because it drew people in. Oh, I like this game, I like this game. Interesting, you're combining them together. The only problem is if you put yourself in direct competition by doing this, so be careful with this. This video specifically, people were like, this just looks exactly like Hollow Knight. So make sure if you're going to compare yourself to a popular game, it's not just, it doesn't feel too similar and you have some kind of unique twist like, hey, Hollow Knight and Celeste together. Now that's a cool concept. Even if it looks and feels similar to both of those games, it's combining them to create something new. Versus this video did go viral, but honestly it went viral for the wrong reasons. And most of the comments were like, bro, this is ridiculous. You just copied Hollow Knight. This one I didn't find too many videos of, but nostalgia, if you can bring people back to a game that they played as a child, this one's a simple clip. The Moonerang going back and forth, getting faster and faster. Basically, all the comments you'll see is, this is giving Mario and Luigi vibes. This attack from Mario and Luigi. Nostalgia with that Mario RPG DS game. So this clip, I think, literally went viral because everyone's like, oh, I remember that kind of feature, that kind of mechanic back into this game, and it unlocks that nostalgia from their childhood. Something like that went so viral, it got 1.2 million views. So obviously it's hard to replicate that unless you have that in your game already, but if you did base a feature maybe off of a game that was, you know, 15, 20, 30 years old at this point or whatever, then you might have a piece of nostalgia that could work well on TikTok. This is another big one I saw. Please, 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 every time you have a cool milestone or launch, whether that's your official launch, early access, we just released a new demo on itch.io and we get to celebrate this. You know, any point where people get to celebrate with you together, that is a huge deal on your release. Or even like this game here, This was from Keepsake Games, one of the games we saw earlier. They got featured on IGN FanFest. So of course, make that into a TikTok, make it into that video, and then show more of your game. Alright, just a couple more. We're almost done with this section. It's a lot longer than I thought it would be, but hopefully this is helpful to you guys. If not, it's at least helpful for me. This one is game development tips. It's usually some kind of format of, hey, this is a problem that we're having in your game, and here's some kind of unique or interesting way that we were able to solve this problem. This guy, Devin, actually made a music video for his game, Mr. Sleepy Man, which is a cool combination of game dev trick, but also music video. I highly recommend you check it out. Just fun, honestly. The problem with this, as I say at the bottom, this one doesn't convert as well. I think for pretty obvious reasons. The reason these go viral is because other game devs are seeing this and are interested with how they're interested because you actually solved the problem. They want to see maybe if this solves one of their problems or just learn a cool game development tip. They're not necessarily interested in playing or wishlisting your game itself. Of course, some people did get a boost of wishlist, but again, it's kind of like being funny and going viral. It's like it just didn't convert as well, anywhere in the like a quarter to a tenth as well as a game going viral because of its gameplay. Same thing if you're at a festival or you're doing devlogs or behind the scenes. This one, taking your mascot to a con looked like a crime scene. Or this one, it's a funny little meme about being an indie game dev. Can we skip to the good part? It's a TikTok trend everyone's doing, and then it's like, oh, it doesn't really work like that for indie games. Why can't we just finish it? Everyone is resonating with that. That feeling of being a game dev trapped making one game for 3 to 5 years, not being able to skip to the good part of having it be done.
Bro,
or this one from Mr. Moo Games. This is what how he responded to games that had bugs before he was a game dev, and then like after game dev. Holy cow, they made this crazy little tiny Microsoft Paint game. And so those things are funny, those things are relatable, but again, just didn't convert quite as well. And actually, the interesting thing about Mr. Moo Games, you can see that kind of video here.
Going to make a video.
So you can see Mr. Moo had a couple of these videos, and they honestly did great. For views, almost 2 million views, but only about 10 followers or 80 wishlist. Versus another video he made that only got 500,000 views, and he shows off 5 years of game development. Even though this game, is not one of the games I would say is in the beauty category. I mean, it gets better over the 5 years.
Spent the last year putting together from the best pieces.
But because he went through the whole 5 years game development, sharing each step by step, he was able to get almost, I would estimate somewhere around 1,000 wish lists. So keep that in mind. Going viral just because you're going viral doesn't always mean it's leading down into that funnel of what you actually want, which is people wish listing, following you, and eventually actually buying and playing your game. So next up, here are some of the lessons, some of the thoughts. Again, these are the takeaways that I came up with, but hopefully maybe, as you guys share in the comments, there will be other takeaways, other lessons to think through. One, first simple, just test the style multiple times. A lot of the times people would, do the same exact video style, almost the same font, same gameplay clips, whatever, slightly different. And it's like one video would get 10,000 views, and the next time they did it, it was like 1 million views. Sometimes, on TikTok, you just hit the algorithm at the wrong time. It's showing it to the wrong people. They're not engaging with it. They're not watching enough of your video, and they move on. And the next time you do it, it's like it hit the right people, the right time, and TikTok passes it on from benchmark to benchmark to benchmark, and all of a sudden, you're at 1 million views. So through all of those styles that I just shared, test them out each a couple times before you give up and say, oh, that didn't work. If after a few times you're getting no views, no engagement, no one's watching, okay, move on, test something else, or maybe just come to the conclusion that your game isn't specifically made to do well on social media and TikTok. Something else I thought was interesting, if you're solo or duo, you can use a personal TikTok account. I think the advantage of that is it gives a personal feel, and people will root for you because you're like, whoa, they're an indie dev, or, as Lottle Knots, I'm making this game with my boyfriend. Sharing from that first-person perspective instantly gets people in the mind, this is a complete indie game, which a lot of people want to cheer on and have them do well. My next lesson is you always won't go viral, so don't get discouraged as you're posting videos. Even some of the best games, I'm like, man, this is incredible. These are good videos. They would still release videos and sometimes only hit a couple hundred views or a couple thousand views. And then all of a sudden, again, one of their videos just takes off. TikTok is like that, and so if you get too discouraged, you're just going to stop posting, thinking that nothing works, and you might miss an opportunity. However, again, if it's just not working after you post a good chunk and you do a solid test, then that's okay. However, it was interesting, even though those games don't always go viral, there are definitely games where I'm like, if you're beautiful or you have an impressive design, they didn't just go viral once, they went viral 10, 20, 30, sometimes even 50 times. I talked about this earlier, but the next lesson is you don't have to try to be that hard to be a content creator. We saw plenty of videos. It was like, just slap up some text. You can have the TikTok voiceover, do it for you. You don't even have to record your own voice. Put a little text. I saw people that it seemed like they don't even speak English, or it's definitely not their native language, and they would just put a little text, and it worked really well for them. In the data that I recorded, there wasn't a huge correlation to music choice, length of video, doing TikTok style videos of trendy content, trendy songs, CapCut. I'm just saying, there wasn't a huge correlation there, so don't sweat it. Also, there wasn't a huge correlation to the number of TikToks posted to how many went viral for that team specifically. There were games that would only post a couple times a month and had many, many viral videos, and there were other teams that would literally post more than once a day and still only have like 3 viral TikToks. So I think that goes to show it's more about the game itself than the amount you do. Obviously, if you're not doing any TikToks and you're doing like once a month, then you're going to have less chances, obviously. But it seemed like, as we'll see later, a lot more pointed to teams doing well in that kind of like 5 to 10 a month, maybe once a week, and still could get away with doing that and go viral on TikTok. Again, I want to reiterate, this is another lesson. Gameplay is king. If you got a good game, if it's unique, it has some kind of unique either look to it, feel to it, the game design has something impressive, the UI, the UX looks cool, or something is unique. Those are the games that went viral numerous times, converted the best, and if your game just doesn't have that, you can still do TikTok, it still might be worth it, but don't expect to go viral, or if you do and go viral for those other reasons, it's just likely not going to drive as many wish lists to your game as you might think. Another quick note is, of course, post your socials to other platforms as well. If you're making TikTok videos, there's plenty of other vertical form videos. Chris, in his research on how to market a game, says that TikTok and Reddit are the big ones. Usually he doesn't have anyone talk about YouTube or Facebook or Instagram. However, one of the games that I saw did way better. This was Plunder, and I think I showed one of the videos, got a couple 100,000 views on TikTok, but somehow he's just blown up on YouTube Shorts. Maybe I can contact him, ask him if he did anything interesting. But you can see down there, over there, if I can figure out my camera, some of these have 4 to 5 million views on YouTube Shorts, and really has blown up his followers on Steam. So if you're already making content on TikTok, might as well post it to other places as well. If you are a game maker and you've made other games before, or you're part of a small studio, use your backlog if you have one. Landfall Games, I know a lot of people talk about them. They have an incredible TikTok. They're, I think, community manager or content manager. I don't know what their title is, but they have someone dedicated to it, and it's an amazing TikTok channel. And obviously not everyone's going to have that luxury or resource, but go look at them as an example if you do have a backlog of game. And even in this video here, they're showing a mock-up of their game Haste that just came out, and the beginning of it, they started with the prototype using the model from one of the games, Tabs. And so now people are scrolling by and saying, what? I know that character from the game I played a while back. Why are you using it? Are you stealing? People are accusing them. That's not even your game. And so, again, responding to a hate or negative comment and just saying, actually, we've made this game. And so it gives people a chance to follow you across multiple games, and it makes people stop in their tracks and they're like, wait, why does this game have a character from a game that I've played before? So obviously not everyone's going to have it, but if you do, keep it all on one channel. Use your other games to promote your new games. So next up, is it worth the time or effort? Of course, this question is going to have to be answered by each person, each team that's making a game. Here are the expectations that I kind of found from my fake data of Ken going through SteamDB, trying to figure out how many followers they actually gained from their video. But of course, that's not real science. That's not real data. I would have to go contact them, get their actual stats and number if they have them. But this is just a rough estimate. If your game goes viral, again, for gameplay or something unique, and not those other situations where they go viral because it's funny or a cool devlog, What I found is if you get about 1 million views, there's somewhere around 290 followers as the median. And based on the followers, usually it's 5 to 10x wish list based on how many followers you have, because wish list isn't public data. So you can expect maybe 2,000, 2,500 wish list gain. Chris, in one of his 2024 Inside Conference videos, he said, if you can get 3,500 wish lists in a short period of time, that really wakes up the Steam algorithm to promote you elsewhere. And he in that conference recommended about 500,000 views. But I would say, based on this, maybe even you need a closer to 1 million views or so to get enough wish lists to really wake up the Steam algorithm. Or you can think about it as roughly about a 0.2% view to conversion to wish list ratio. So let's say you get 10,000 views, you're looking at maybe 20 wish lists, which anything helps, right? And of course, wish list isn't the only thing that TikTok brings. If you get views on TikTok, you never know what the chain reaction outside of just being able to study the followers. Maybe a streamer picks it up or they write a news article, wants to feature your game. And of course, it just builds awareness. A lot of marketers talk about, you need to hear something over and over again before you're actually ready to purchase or buy it or to follow or have interest in it. And sometimes, maybe this is just one piece that builds awareness for your game, and then they see their streamer play it, 3 months later, and they're like, oh, I remember seeing this on TikTok. Now my streamer's playing it. Now I see a demo's out, and it's enough to kind of snowball them, and you never know what effect it might have on a person down the road. I also think if you're a solo or duo dev or a small team and you have someone that's a content creator that already does this naturally, this could be a good place to build up a small audience over time, even if it's just them sharing about the game, sharing updates, talking about gameplay features. Even if you never go viral, you can build up an audience over time for some games. But I also think it's a lot stronger if it's from someone that's actually developing and working on the game itself rather than hiring a content creator to try to do that for you. So if you don't have that person on your team and you're not a content creator at all, and the game isn't catching no matter how much you share and types of videos, and you went through all the templates I just shared, I think some games aren't going to do well. It was pretty rare to find games that went that viral, even just hitting 100,000 of views on TikTok. We're talking about maybe hundreds of games, maybe thousands of games have gone viral, but there are, 10,000s of games that have never gone viral on TikTok. Potentially, I don't know, I'm just making stuff up. And lastly, again, there was low correlation between posting often and going viral. So if you don't have the resources for this, consider just even posting, can you do one thing a week? And if you do that, it at least gives yourself a chance. The next question I wanted to ask, because I stumbled upon a video that clearly paid TikTok, you can promote your videos. And what I saw is that it really didn't convert very well. Didn't convert either engagement and follows on TikTok and on Steam. Of course, this is a small sample size, but this is from the game Dive the Depths. They said, guys, we were really struggling with our game, marketing a game. Our game was launched in 12 days, and we have only 46 reviews on our demo. Now, this video had 2.3 million views, but only 10,000 likes on TikTok, and you can see, based off of my best guesstimation, it brought in 1,000 wish lists, but again, who knows how much they paid to get those 2 million views. Versus a game like, let's say, Lotto Knot, they got 2.3 million views on this, almost the double amount of wish lists. And you can see, this is how I know it's probably that they paid for the views. This video has 600,000 likes versus only 10,000 likes and 500 comments. So depending on how much they paid for the views, maybe it's still worth it to get those wish lists, to get the awareness. But my hunch, my overall guess is if your game isn't doing well organically, people seeing your post because you boosted it through money, you're probably going to get weaker results. So maybe it's something that you test and throw a little bit of money at, and if it's not working, spend your money elsewhere. And one of the things that I saw is that some games, they post it on their own account, they're getting a couple hundred views, and literally that's it. No one's following, no one's liking their posts. But some of these creators that are on TikTok will literally go through, and their whole channel is about featuring new games that they find. And you can see
this might be the most oddly satisfying game
on Mad Morph's video. Again, this game got almost nothing, but on his video alone, 1.2 million views. Same thing with Roamstead. I think they now have finally gotten a little bit of traction on their own videos. but as Brax Finds Games, when he covered it, almost 1 million views, 900,000. So I haven't worked with these types of creators before, but if you guys have, let me know in the comments if any of them will actually pick up your game because you emailed them, or maybe they take some kind of fee, or maybe they don't do any of that. You just have to get lucky with these. But some of these videos, again, got a ton of views, and the creators of the game didn't have to do it themselves. So now, because I'm a nerd, let's go look at some of the stats. I'll try to remember to drop the Google Sheet in the comments or description so that you guys can kind of mess around and see this yourself. You know, I put the game and the Steam link, although some of the games are not a Steam, but if they do, that's where they are. And then the video link itself if you want to go check out that specific TikTok video. And then I recommend, poke around on their whole account as well and see what they're doing. So first up, got a table here just looking at what is the visual distinctiveness. I rated this myself. Again, this is completely subjective, but just trying to give an idea, okay, of like, if this game was mind-blowing visually, it's a 5. If it was, the game didn't really look distinct at all, it's a 1. So most of the games, in general, as you can see, fell in the 3 to 4 range. And there was just not many that went viral that I went and looked at like, visually, like, doesn't look unique. So the visuals of your game really matter. You can see that the more distinct it was, we can kind of ignore 5 and 6 because there's really just not that much data to make it significant. But if it had a visual distinctiveness of 3 or 4 based on my rating, they got a decent chunk more wish list per 1 million views. And the games that I rated a 4 or 5, or I put 1 as 6 because it was the crazy dragon game. And if I remember putting the video, you'll see what I mean. But those are the types of games that were able to go viral multiple times. So visuals of your game for going viral on TikTok, I would say definitely matter. This one is on the genre of the game. Again, I don't know if there's enough data here to be really significant, but some interesting things here. Survival, there was a lot more games. Horror, I think I just didn't actually go through the data of most of the horror games I found, but there was a good chunk of horror as I shared earlier. But yeah, overall, I don't want to spend too much time here because I think I probably didn't organize the genres quite enough. Maybe if I put them into some larger buckets, it would have enough significance, but it's kind of fun to see. The other one was studio size. I basically defined this, this is just my indie definition. Solo 1, very small, team of 2 to 5 people, small 6 to 10. Medium, this is medium for an indie game, 11 to 20, and large 20 plus. Most of the games that went viral, just the count of them itself were solo or very small. What I found interesting is that, honestly, the amount of TikToks they're posting and the number of viral TikToks they were getting was actually fairly close. So, it doesn't matter if you're a small team, a solo team, very small, all of them seem to perform about the same. The solo ones actually had a higher TikTok follower count than the very small ones. I think part of that is just the solo games. Some of them that were in there were like crazy high, like Schedule 1, stuff like that. Although this is median, so it kind of would remove those outliers. But yeah, kind of cool that even as a solo, you can do pretty well on TikTok. I don't think the studio size really affects it too much. Obviously, if you're at a larger studio, hopefully you have more resources or publisher to help you out with it. But hey, even if you're solo, even if you have 2 people, 3 people on your team, whatever, you still have a good chance to go viral on TikTok if your game is good enough. And the last thing I want to show is basically I just tracked as they did this video, did they actually have a call to action in the video itself saying, hey, at some point in the game, or at some point at the video they said, hey, wishlist our game on Steam, versus that of, oh, they had a Steam page, but they didn't say anything about it in the video. Maybe it was in the description, or some of them not at all. They just didn't say they were on Steam at all, and they just had it in their bio. Versus, of course, this underperformed, but it's only 3 videos. If you have no links to your Steam page, you're probably not going to get wishlist because people are, are they going to take the time to find your game name, to go find you on Steam itself? Obviously not. But what I found interesting is there actually wasn't much difference. Actually, what's funny is that technically the people that didn't say wishlist our game in the video did slightly better. I'm not going to say it's, game changing, and I don't think it's a big enough data set to really do a takeaway. to say it's better to not say you have a wish list on Steam, but I'm gonna say what's interesting is they're close enough to where I'm saying it doesn't matter actually too much, at least based on this data set, if you say wish list or game on Steam in the video itself. As long as you have it in your bio, a direct link, and you say in your bio, hey, we are the makers of blank game, wishlist or follow here Steam page. As long as you have that, they seem to convert both videos just as well, saying it in the video versus not saying it in the video directly. Alright, I think that's it for now. I might even split that up to 2 videos because that was so much longer than I thought it was going to be, but hopefully you guys learned something about indie game marketing on TikTok. I know I did, and I know some of you guys are much more experienced than me, potentially, if you're watching this video. So drop in the comments what's your experience. If you have any data that you want to talk about, send it my way. Put it in the comments. Talk to me on Discord, email. I can send you guys that stuff. And if you just want someone to consult or talk to, or come up with some content and get a quick review, feel free to reach out to me. I would love to help. I'd love to see indie games succeed as much as possible. And TikTok is a maddening place, whether you're a creator or you're just an indie game trying to show off your game. It can be very difficult. It can be upsetting sometimes. I know it's hard. So hopefully you guys find success and we can share our tips together. But thank you guys for watching this video. Hopefully it was helpful. And my hope is to continue to learn more and share and maybe even interview others about their indie game and the success that you guys have had. So if you want to, we can maybe set up a chat or an interview as well. I'd love to just hear from those who are building the indie games and making it a reality. Thank you guys for watching, and I will talk to you later. Peace out.